Friends, family, fans, it's another episode of Back Nine Bets with Captain Cold Streak. We do not even have a guest on the show. It's a solo show this evening. It's a show that's going to do a lot of reflecting. We are wearing as much of our good vibes as possible. It's the Waste Management Phoenix Open Week, WM Phoenix Open Week. Got the Cam Smith shirt on. We love that shirt. It brings us all the good vibes. Got the party hat on. Only bust us out once every now and then. We're not going to shotgun a beer. That'll be tomorrow. Starting off hot and heavy with the shotgun beer in tomorrow's episode. It's going to be pretty epic. But the theme of tonight's show is reflection. It's been a bit of a rough stretch for me since the season has began. And I've done some looking at my data. I've done some, analysis. And it's been nasty. It's been ugly. We are down 27 units since starting the season in 2023. So since the Shriners or the Fortinet is when we are down 27 units. What happens in that moment when the new season starts is we get this influx of Korn Ferry Tour members that comes into the PGA. We have a whole bunch of guys that have substantial databases and strokes gain metrics that we rely on that no longer really play that much until Rory McIlroy hasn't played a single round of golf outside of the CJ Cup. So he doesn't have like any metrics for the season yet. And we've been doing this for almost like 3.5 months. So the problem is we get all these new guys, and I'm a very model-based person. And when it comes to using these long-run data sets that I have, not having a large sample size of information or even any information for these Korn Ferry Tour guys. We've tried to convert it from the tour from KFT to the PGA. Doesn't work as well as you'd think. Taylor Montgomery is like one of the few exceptions. The guy's just absolutely been crushing it on tour. All the other Korn Ferry Tour guys, some of them just can't handle being on the PGA. Some of them can. The guys that weren't necessarily the best Korn Ferry Tour players have been playing really good golf. Some of the best ball strikers on the Korn Ferry Tour have been playing some really bad golf. And we're finally seeing them come to fruition now. So it just takes a while for the baselines of these players to establish themselves. And I think what we've realized is that is causing us some issues. So that is the situation. Yeah, this is going to be the prelude of the episode. We kind of just diving into how I go about making my bets. It's going to be a little more boring. I'm going to try and make it as interesting as possible. But we're going to be kind of reviewing how I've done, what has gone wrong, what possible trends we can find, kind of techniques I use to analyze my bets, all of that stuff. So if you are looking to kind of become a better, as I am too, reflecting on all this stuff, this is the episode for you. So if you are listening to this on Spotify or iTunes or on some sort of audio platform, I'm going to be showing you a lot of my screen as always. So please dive in to the YouTube channel if you are available on that platform. And before we get going, this podcast is brought to you by rotoballer.com, folks. The wonderful people at rotoballer.com have taken absolutely wonderful care of me. Go over there, use code Maniac for 10% off. It's a very affordable product. You can get mine for very, very cheap. You can get mine and Spencer's for double the price, which is still very affordable. And it's you 10% off. You spend $180 for the full year, get everything we can offer you at rotoballer.com. We got the Discords, we got the research stations, we got all of our articles, all of that. Now, if you've been following Breaking 100, you've been losing money just like I have. So that's kind of the gist of this podcast, is trying to understand where the hell things have gone wrong. So without further ado, we're going to share some screens here. This right here is what I use to kind of just get a high-level summary of what the heck is going on in my life. So I've been betting golf for the last 3 years. And the first 2 years, 2021, last 3 seasons. 2021 season, crushed it, 48 units, didn't even bet outrights. In 2022, I started betting outrights, thank God, but also at the same time, I started betting first-round leaders. That was a nightmare, so we kind of almost half-washed that out, but we made 56 units in 2022. And then as you can see there, in 2023, we are just negative across the board. It has been an absolute bloodbath. Our bread and butter bets that are typically the ones that kind of sustain us through the ups and downs of an outright have led us down profusely. Now, what's even worse is this 27 units is just 27 units to you. But the funny thing is, after looking at my track record and gaining and eclipsing over 100 freaking units in a season, in 2 seasons, I decided, oh, you know what's a good idea? Round about the Sony, I'm going to decide to increase my amount that I bet per unit by 50%. So your boy is not only down 27 units, he's down roughly like 1.5 times that, like sitting in the 30s financially, because I just changed my units recently. So it was the most horrific timing to change your units. And this is one of my first things I want to talk about before we dive into all of this stuff, is sticking to a unit. So I'm going to be a little basic real quick off the top. A unit is something that you should be able to afford 100 bets of. If you can't afford a unit and you can't afford to lose 99 bets with that unit, if it's $1, if it's $1,000, I don't care, whatever. You got to be able to sustain 99 losses so that 100th bet can bounce you back and get you out of that lull. If I was betting units that weren't affordable to me, this would be a situation that is dire, because now I've gone down and I won't have any more money or bankroll to handle the uptick, which will inevitably and hopefully come. This is what we're hoping for. We'll go into the next level of analysis here shortly, but what I want to tell you is, let me just dive into that real quick. So here's my bet summary. As you can see, throughout the history of doing all of this stuff, let me get myself out of here. Throughout the history of doing all of this stuff, you can see that in month 1, month 2, month 10, and month 11, when the new data is still coming into the systems. And the worst part about all this stuff is they're playing all these events, but they're all in Japan. They all don't have shot link. They're 3-course rotation. So you're only getting bits and pieces of strokes gain data. And I'm trying to just use this information to absolutely bet on these golfers. And as you can tell, like most of the time in 2022 and 2023, I've had horrific Januaries and Februaries, as well as the Shriners and other events early in October have been catastrophic. So this is kind of the situation. And then you can see the sweet spot right here. Once March rolls through, baby, oh baby, do we start cooking. On placements, we also, we had a bad 2021 season on matchups there, but typically we're doing good things. So you can see as the data comes into the system and the data is making itself present and a more believable sample size, you get yourself a better track record. And I've just been historically bad when it comes to winter. Winter is coming and the White Walkers have eaten me up, people, because it has not been good. So as you can tell, I've split my bets up into head-to-heads, which I adore, and I've absolutely crushed throughout my time betting. I'm up 8% return of interest there, the whole shebang, 31 total units, 32 units. Then it comes to top 20s, top 30s, top 40s. We finally figured out that, in 2022, I was having a nightmare trying to bet top 30s, and the markets wouldn't offer them. They would offer them. They wouldn't offer them. So I just said, screw it. I'm out with those, not doing those bets anymore. And the same goes for first-round leaders. I was just completely sidetracked when it came to betting these first-round leaders. I wasn't paying attention to the weather. I wasn't paying attention to tee times. So the beauty of having success in 2021 and 2022 is I somehow managed to find myself riding for Rotoballer, which has been one of the biggest blessings I've ever had. Then instead of using all the time that I used to do to create this model and maintain it and look after and make sure that the bets I was placing were great, I landed up writing articles instead and spending more time doing that. So you have to have a solid process. You have to have a great method to your madness. No matter what it is, you got to stick to it and find something that works and be consistent with it, because that is how it goes. So make sure that you stick to those units. You have to maintain a unit base that you can afford to lose 99 times in a row and then bounce back on that 100th one. Ideally, you don't want to lose 99, but you get the gist. That's basically what you got to be able to do for this. So we're going to bounce back. As you can see, things have been going well for us when it comes to placement bets in March and onwards. So that's kind of the basis there. Then we figured out that we couldn't do first round leader bets. We were just missing at a massive clip. That's okay. So we eventually stopped doing those because first round leader bets were just absolutely milking our bankroll. And the worst part was the 1 week I hit 3 of them. So I had 2 weeks where I hit 3 and 2 first round leaders, and they never even totaled a full first round leader return because they were dead heated with 6 and 7 other people. So it was just the craziest like run of luck. And I've also I don't want to bitch and moan about being unlucky, but I just bet 2 units on Matthew Fitzpatrick to finish inside the top 20, which he's done 70% of his starts. Turns out right after I bet him, he's got a neck injury, still plays pretty good, and then goes 7 over par in 4 holes when the wind blows up. Justin Rose wasn't handling that stuff, so he stopped playing. Matthew Fitzpatrick, I guess, kept playing, and life goes on, and he missed the cut, and just what a mess. So, those are the kinds of things that you just got to deal with throughout going with your golf bets. And that's why I was so paranoid about doing this podcast, because I've absolutely sucked it up. And I'm writing articles for people to go and follow and use as a resource. And here I am just absolutely sucking. So I did know that when I started the season 2023, I said, I'm only betting half units, baby units. I'm not going too hard because I knew that this was going to happen. Then I thought I got too far into the season, so I ramped it up to a full unit at the RSM. The very freaking week that I ramp it up to a full unit, we have ourselves an absolute nightmare at the RSM. As you can tell, the RSM happened in 2023, right here in November. Actually, I think it was I don't even know when it was, but we've had the Sony, we've had the RSM, and they have just absolutely robbed us of this. The RSM was right before we went into the break. So that was one of the worst things to do. So just terrible stuff there. So you got to remember, there's going to be, if you're using data to generate your bets, maybe check it out. You got to be able to record your bets in a certain way that you can make sure that is a way you can review them safely. So getting into my second little baby tip that we have for you. Record your bets by bet type, by year, by month, and by player. Those are at least a few basic things you can use to filter or establish trends or whatnot in order to determine an action plan if things go south. You need to also be able to see what you're doing well. You could be profiting across all bets total, but you could be doing like I was doing and losing in top 30 bets all the time, losing in first round leader bets all the time. If you don't record your bets and you don't do them by the bet type and by the year so that you can see over the years and the months how they go, you're going to be screwed if you start having bad weeks and bad months, because you're not going to know what to fix. You're not going to know where to stop betting the bad ones. You need to be able to tune into those and really understand where your weaknesses and where your strengths are. So understand that, and then you can do it by a player. This is what I do when I'm looking at my golfers that I have on a blacklist, when I'm looking at golfers that have done great things for me. So I have filtered it here by bread and butter bets, which are the placement bets, top 20, top 30, top 40, and matchups. Those are the safest bets you can do when it comes to just general golf betting versus outrights and first round leaders. So that's why I've filtered it out here. And you can see, look at all these guys. Russell Henley, Colin Morikawa absolutely have been crushing it for me in matchups. And that was pretty much in 2021. So this is like a whole while. But if you take a look, you can also, if you filter by year, you can get exactly what you're looking for with these golfers. Now, I'm looking at 2023 season. If I'm looking at bread and butter bets, yeah, we are. So we've got all these guys, and only a few of them have actually done well for us. James Hahn, Aaron Wise, Martin Laird, they've done okay. Then we've got a landslide of guys that just have done absolutely nothing for us. Absolutely nothing. Emiliano Grillo has been a great golfer for us historically. Hasn't been good lately, but fractionally losing for us. Matthew Neesmith, terrible. Stuart Sink, big time, sucking. The worst person has been Scott Stallings. And I've been betting on Scott Stallings pretty much the entire season. I bet against him using Tom Hoagie, who, by the way, has also been terrible from a placement perspective. But I used Tom Hoagie, who was going back to Pebble. He played well there. He's one of the best iron players in the world. Scott Stallings ends up beating Tom Hoagie. So just last week. Also, like, it's just ridiculous. So that's kind of the situation we're in here. Make sure that you record your bets. You want to be able to put them into a spreadsheet. If you don't know how to do spreadsheets, reach out to me. I can maybe take a few minutes and throw together a very simple one for you that you can use on Google Docs or Google Sheets, and just record these things with, even at a very basic level. That's all you need to do, is because over a long period of time, that information is going to be so substantially definitive to you. You can make good decisions about what bets are profiting for you and what bets are losing for you. So just to get back to that real quick, I've separated my bets into head-to-head matchups, top 20s, top 30s, top 40s, outrights, and first-round leaders. I no longer do top 30s or first-round leaders officially. I'm messing around with the first round leader thing a little bit behind the scenes until I get it figured out, but not officially. So that's the thing. You got to make sure that you know where your strengths and weaknesses lie. And you can only do that if you are recording your bets in a very efficient and smart way. So that's what's cooking there. Just remember that that's the situation. You got to record those bets. And then for me, I've figured out, look, I don't even know what I'm doing when it comes to betting bets in November, January, October, and February. It's just a nightmare. So we're going to have these new guys that are finally now out of the rotation now that we've got this first elevated event. I really had to update hardly any guy's stats because everybody's got last year and this year. I run it using 2025. Let's go to this quickly. This is what I'm using. This is a little Waste Management Phoenix Open preview. How I run my bets is I use season-long totals. So for 2023, I'm only using a quarter of that data, or I'm weighting that data at 25%. For 2022 season, that's weighted 75% in my model. So everything that a guy did last year, from a proximity number standpoint, from strokes gained approach, from putting, from all of that stuff, I run a very large data size sample size. And that is why I think I'm having such a tough time when it comes to these new guys showing up on the scene and absolutely ruining the sample pieces. So that's kind of the gist of it. There's a lot of course history going into this week, so we're ramping that up to 20%. But we'll get into the preview here shortly once I've run through kind of just a quick betting 101 crash course for people that want to become better bettors. And hopefully that can be the thing for you. So I've got my placings over here. You can see they do the best from March onwards. And then matchups are kind of, they're not nearly as volatile. We had a really bad 2021 season, but since then it's kind of been okay. But we've been leaking. Just across the board. But it's okay because I was way more concerned about this before I actually put this whole spreadsheet and took a look at all of my data, because just seeing the green that has historically come after this stretch of time makes me feel so much better. I know that what I've done is probably a problem, that I've been betting full units during a period of time that you shouldn't necessarily not be doing that kind of thing, but it's okay. We're living, we're learning. Like I said, I'm only about halfway through my third year, yeah. And we're learning. That's the whole point of recording these bets, is to figure this stuff out. So going into 2024 season, we're going to chill the hell out, like quarter unit bets at a time, until we get into like March. It's not fun to do that, but you got to remember that if you're going to do this, it's fun to win. So you got to remember, are you betting this to just have fun and throw your money away? Or are you trying to keep yourself accountable and profitable for this stuff? Because it is fun being a profitable bettor and a profitable person when it comes to betting. So I just realized I've been speaking the whole time without my face on there, but it is what it is. So welcome back to me. Welcome back to Back Nine Bets there, Byron. And by the way, the title of this episode is Surviving the Drought. So that's just a little fun fact there, 20 minutes into the show. Surviving the Drought, which I think we've established is an annual thing early in the season. So let's keep scooting down. We got your player breakdowns here. You got to also be able to figure out who is doing you what. So I showed you my bread and butter bets, and I've got my total units. In my entire life of betting, these are the guys that have made me the most money. And I tell you what, I miss Cam Smith so very much. He was my go-to guy. The markets undervalued him. My model loved him somehow, even as a very good putter and not necessarily the best iron player early in his career. But between Cam Smith and Tom Kim, boy, we're sitting at 92 units there. Just betting those two dudes for outrights, which is fantastic. We got Tom Kim again this week. Let's freaking go. Choo choo, sons of bitches. So you got to know who's your guys. Who do you go to? Like Russell Henley, I've never been able to get right on an outright. Neither have I been able to get Colin right. But when it comes to betting them in matchups and betting them in placements, they've typically done okay for me. Colin's had a bit of a downturn recently, and that kind of doesn't help, but it is what it is. Then I filtered it by the year, and so far, if I'm looking at who's been my worst players, it's Matt Kuchar, Matt Fitzpatrick, Scott Stallings, Brendan Todd has been absolutely ruining me until he finally got it together this week. I think he's been playing fantastic golf recently. At the RSM, we bet 2 units for him to beat JT Poston, who's typically never played well at that course and wasn't playing good golf coming into the week. Brendan Todd makes a bogey on the final par 5 of his round in the round 2, misses the cut. JT Poston makes the cut, finishes like 40th or something, and Brendan Todd lands up losing us 2 units in a head-to-head matchup. So thanks for that, Brendan. 2.5 units. So thanks, bro. Really appreciate that from you. So you just got to remember that this is how you can establish who your best golfers are for different bets. This is very early. It's just for 2023 season. But these are the guys that have hurt me. Russell Henley didn't cash the top 20. Zach Johnson at the RSM didn't cash the top 20. Adam Svensson just hasn't been doing things for me. So if you go into this, let's go to the bottom of the board, yeah, from a historical perspective. Let's actually do this real quick and save these rows so that you can see exactly what's going on here. There we go. All right. So this is where you get into like the blacklist area. So as you can tell, Harold Varner and Tyrrell Hatton are 2 guys that I will never bet ever again in my life until they show me more, because Harold Varner's he's on live now, so we can't even bet him there. But Tyrrell Hatton has just been atrocious. I've tried to bet him for top 20s and outrights and matchups, and he's just a goofball, goonhead that doesn't know how to play golf whenever I bet him. So he's bread and butter's sitting at minus 0.82 units. Not good at all. Sam Burns, sheesh B. I've been betting Sam Burns for 4.5 units, and I don't think I've hit a single win. I think he's won 3 times in the last little while. Never was on one of those. So I apparently can't get Sam Burns right. So maybe I should just stop betting him for outrights in general. Other people that I've been betting outrights on forever is Justin Thomas. Can't get Justin Thomas right. But if you look at Justin Thomas's track record, the guy's like won once every year. So why am I trying to even bet freaking Justin Thomas? Adam Hadwin, another guy I've got a massive problem with. Absolutely can't stomach betting him. Victor Hovland. Can't catch a break on Victor Hovland winning anything. So you got to understand that from a golfer's perspective, these are the guys that you're trying to bet. Some of them are better at doing certain things. Freaking Gary Woodland. Holy cow. What was I doing betting this guy? Had I seen that something was wrong with him, I probably would have stopped way ages ago betting him in matchups. So you got to almost review this stuff monthly if you really want to take this seriously, so that you can figure out which way these golfers are going, because sometimes you just keep seeing a guy in the model, he keeps popping, but at the end of the day, he's just sucking it up like Gary Woodland, Jan, losing you 7 units in matchups. What on earth was I doing? So that's the kind of thing that you want to take a peek at. There's guys that do good things, like Patton Kazai has been doing nice things for me in the placement market, but you gotta imagine where's going what. So that is why you want to track your bets, keep a unit size, and track them by year, track them by month, and track them by bet type and by player. So those are the 4 key things you want to do: bet type, year, month, player. That way you can figure out exactly what's going on, and you can assess your situation when things go south. So that's what's cooking. So yeah, if you use this stuff and you stack all these people, you can use like a pivot in Excel to generate these top 20, top 30 like names. Also, I'm happy to throw together some very basic stuff for you if you have any kind of questions or inefficiencies when it comes to Excel. I know we all can't be the Model Maniac, But yes, what is this? Here's my boy. Is the umbrella hat for the rain at Pebble or the sunshine at Waste Management Phoenix Open? It is 100% for the beer showers. It's a bit of both. It's the golden rain that will be coming down in Phoenix this week. So that's what's cooking with the hat. I bust it out once a year, and it is very tight around my skull. And I'm telling you now, it's been a bit of a rough episode. I'm starting to start slurring my words here because I'm lacking some blood flow to the pip. So yes, thanks for tuning in, Eric. I always love to have you on the show with me. It does provide me with a little bit of company. So that's what's cooking from my side of things here. I just really wanted to share the fact that it's been an absolutely atrocious start to the season. But fear not. We have faith. We've seen what's happened in the past. Hopefully that can bounce back. Any placement bets we'll be doing this week will also be half unit bets. We're not going to go too crazy. We've got the majority of our guys that we've got in the database. We've got the majority of our guys that have a good track record of sample size. But also Rory McIlroy hasn't played in the United States since the CJ Cup, I don't think. So this is what the kind of stuff we're dealing with. So this is easily why you need to just chill out until March, until everyone's played it a few times on the US, established their kind of form that they've come back to the season with. So that's what's cooking there. Let's dive into the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Let's see what's cooking. So these are the model settings that I have set up so far. Oh, yes. Sell me fire. I mean, hey, if you know I know how to party, you must know how to party too. But the partying will start tomorrow. This was a bit of a sober, somber, saddish reflection on reality podcast. Tomorrow, I'm going to be burping my way through this whole podcast. So don't you stress. There's going to be Keystone shotguns for every outright we have. We've got 3. So it'll be fun. And to start the pod. So we could easily be 4 beers deep by the end of the pod. So yes, course history is one of the highest you can find here at TPC Scottsdale. The same golfers succeed here on a regular basis. So I've ramped that up to 20% in my model, which is actually quite a lot. Official World Golf ranking for 10%. This typically does help when you have new guys in the field. If they don't have any World Golf ranking points, they're not going to be as good as the guys that do. It's just a simple fact. And it's one of the better predictors of success on tour is your official World Golf ranking. And then just recent form. I don't care how you're doing it. I don't care what you're doing to score well. But in 2023, if you've played well, and I understand this is why there's a sample size problem, because some guys have only played 6 or 7, 8 rounds. The other guys, like Tom Hoagie's played 32. So this is the problem. And then we're taking 60% of stats, which are all these stats down here, which is where the model really comes together here. So we've got strokes gained approach. As we've seen, let's take a look here. We've got some key stats. This is typically what cooks at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. If you look at tour average versus what happens here, you can tell accuracy off the tee is kind of important because there's hazards and crap all over this place. Turns out that approach play is not necessarily that big of a deal here. So we kind of ramp that down. We sit sometimes in 45% total approach. I know Eric in the chat isn't a fan of total approach because it depends on where you've hit your tee shot. So I understand. I get it. This is how I do my thing though. Around the green, very important. I think green irregulation rates aren't necessarily the best here, but you got to be able to scramble. You got to be able to get up and down from around the greens. And then putting just seems the same. Hey, what's up, Ian? Procrastinating studying my midterm for Colin Morikawa hype. Oh boy, we'll have to maybe get to a little bit of that, but that's probably tomorrow's show. This was a sad one. I don't think you want to be doing too much stuff here from a Colin Morikawa standpoint. But if you do take a look at the model, you'll know that he's going to be right up there. And if you followed me on Twitter, folks, we're in on Colin Morikawa this week. Eric's telling me, remember, if off the tee is high, approach will be lower by nature. Yes, it's basically taking a sum of 1, and the bigger your drive, the less you have remaining of the pie on approach. You can't gain you got to basically hit it in the hole from 75 yards to really bank that versus hitting it to 1 foot from 150. So that's basically the bigger bite of the pie you take off the tee, the smaller bite you have left on approach, which I totally agree with Eric there. that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I think that's typically why Tom Kim's approach numbers are that high. So we want to round the green. Putting is pretty much tour average, which is still important. Yeah, they're putting on Bermuda greens this week. When you take a look at proximity numbers, approach play, this is what is coming up regularly. We got about a casual 60% of shots coming from 125 to 200. Now, this doesn't mean that it's everybody's shots, but if you take just an average golfer that's playing on PGA Tour over the last 4 years, this is exactly what they've done. So from these ranges, 125 to 200, you're going to see 6 out of 10 shots. That's where we want to be. That's why if you take a look at our stats here, these are the ones that this is just rounded. So these ones are sitting at a casual 13% of our 20% that we've allotted to proximity numbers on approach. We want guys that can putt well from 5 to 15 feet. That's one of the most accurate metrics of putting that you can find. And then we want good putters that are on Bermuda. I could probably also do 5 to 15 feet putting on Bermuda, but I'm too lazy. I just did it for everybody that can putt well on Bermuda no matter what distance. It's the last 50 rounds. I feel like that's a decent baseline for that. Birdie or better and bogey avoidance are pretty much the same. We're going to see about like minus 15 this week. It's not going to be too crazy. That's going to be what the winner's going to be doing, maybe minus 15, minus 18. Par 5 scoring is not that high this week because there's only 3 of them, and that is why we don't really have that too much par 5s. Around the green, 6%. Off the tee is 22%. As you saw here, we got the key stats telling us off the tee is important. So we got a mixture of just off the tee, good driving off the tee, strokes gained off the tee, 5% driving accuracy, 4% distance, 2% for good drives gained. And that is how we get to 22 total driving percentages for our total model. So yes, this is what's cooking. This is what's happening here on Back Nine Bets with the Cold Stone Killer, the Captain Cold Crunch, Captain Cold Streak. It's been a nightmare year, guys. It's been terrible. Terrible start, terrible time to change the units I've done. It's the first time I've done that in over a year and a half. So terrible timing for me. Your boy's really struggling. I'm going to have to sell this cam shirt back to Penguin, see if I can get at least $20 for it and go from there. But it's been a fun year. We're doing this because you enjoy the process. This is also why we do Photoshop graphics on Twitter, because it keeps you engaged, it keeps you fun, it keeps you enjoying betting on this stuff even when it's not going well. So you have to just remember that betting this stuff it can be nightmarish, and there's going to be cold spells. That just happens. But I think we've established what's happened. Too bad it's happened already, but you can't establish what's happened if it hasn't happened, if you know what I'm saying. So that's what's cooking over there. We figured out, I think, what our problem is, and it's lack of data. The model isn't gel. So we're going to have to go maniac and low units when it comes to the fall swing, which might not even be a thing anymore. So we might have figured it out too late and never have to deal with that ever again. Who the hell knows? But if we do know that when we're introducing new data to the model, take it easy, B. Take it easy. We don't want to be doing too much. So that's what's cooking, folks. This is kind of a short one. I've been okay. I'm going to Hawaii in a few weeks' time. Life's good. Rollerball is amazing. Go check that out. Rollerball.com. Use code Maniac 10% off. But everything's going well. The golf betting has just really got me down a little bit. So I just had to get behind the microphone. I was thinking of doing like an ayahuasca trip. I don't even know if I have time for that. I don't know if I have the funds for that. I don't know if I have the liver. We will see. But I figured I'd make this pod kind of that for me. Just verbalize my frustrations with what's been going on. Try and understand why it's been happening. Maybe help other people also learn that they might be doing the same dumb shit that I'm doing. So if you are, please learn from me, make adjustments, go easy in the fall swing, and the sun's going to come out, and we're going to be rocking this beautiful rainbow umbrella hat, and we're not going to have anything in our eyes. We've got the light over here. This thing works wonders for light deflection. So that's what's cooking, folks. I don't know. I didn't even have a guest planned, and that's why I did this quick little episode. It's not going to be nothing too crazy. And I think I'm just starting to ramble now. So unless there's any other questions in the chat, yeah? Yes. Thanks, Eric. We're here for you, Byron. Vent away. Absolutely, dude. I've needed this. I really do feel good. I'm sipping on a nice cold LaCroix coconut cola, Nicola. So it's a cola flavored, 0 calories, 0 blah, 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 nice flavored seltzer. So Cheers to you, Eric. Thanks for always showing up. The other guys in the chat, I really appreciate you too, Ian and Salmi Fire. We trust in you, Byron. With proper process, water always finds its level. Love the introspection on tonight's show. The dusk is always darkest before the dawn, my man. Absolutely. Isn't that? That's it, folks. That's how we're ending. The dusk is always darkest before the dawn. And when it's going to be dawn, it's going to be beautiful. So that's it for tonight's episode. It was a different one. I hope if you have listened and you've been struggling, or if you haven't even been struggling, you've at least learned something about how I go about betting and how you can apply that to your process. So I appreciate you guys as always. We will catch you tomorrow for Back Nine Bets when we have a whole bunch more data. We'll bust out the model, talk about some placement bets we've made, some matchups, and our outrights. We've got 3 of them. We're going to be doing shotguns for each because it is the Waste Management Phoenix Open and we want to party our face off. So anyway, till then, folks, we will catch you guys